Chapter 7 Kate. Kate was exhausted and had no more tears to shed. Her whole body hurt from landing on the cold, hard floor. She opened her bleary eyes. It was too dark to see anything, but she could hear the sound of the wind racing up the hole behind her. Rolling onto her side, she pushed herself up into a sitting position and tried to wrap her mind around what had just happened. She could recall what happened, but not how it happened. Now she was here, wherever here was. Kate hugged her knees up to her chest and let the last few tears run down her cheeks as she sat, not knowing what to do. Wiping her eyes with the back of her hand, she noticed that pinpoint of light coming from somewhere far in the distance. It was faint, but it was real. It was enough to snap Kate out of her misery. She started to crawl towards the light, anything to get away from the hole she just escaped from. Maybe I'll find some food, too, she thought as her stomach rumbled. She had to stop and rest a few times. The tunnel was unusually long and straight as an arrow. Bit by bit, though, the light grew bigger, and she could start to see the end of the tunnel. She could make out some sounds now, too. Not natural sounds, like a gurgling brook or the wisp of the wind, but industrial sounds, the sound of machines. As Kate got closer to the tunnel's opening, she could feel fear starting to seep into her bones. She slowed her pace and instinctively pressed her back against the wall, making herself as small as she could, not wanting to be seen by whoever or whatever was out there. She inched along sideways until she came to within a few feet of the opening, then lay flat on her stomach, wiggling forward to peer out into the light. What she saw was equal parts wondrous and terrifying. There, laid out in front of her, or below her, more like, was a huge city of sorts, stretching as far as the eye could see. This is impossible. I must have hit my head harder than I thought. Kate looked around, trying to take in the strange sight. The city was enclosed within smooth, sand-colored walls that slowly curved off into the distance. The walls were full of tunnels, some higher up than Kate's and some lower. Some had poles extending from them that ran down to the ground, while others didn't. Looking up, Kate couldn't see a ceiling, only a faint light that illuminated everything from somewhere up above. In front of her, buildings stretched as far as she could see. Smaller ones gave way to larger ones towards the underground horizon. Kate could make out what looked like little bridges extending out of every story, connecting the buildings together in an endless stone web. She was most impressed, though, by the intricate water system, which threaded its way through the buildings and the grassy patches between them, like a giant moat. The water danced with light that appeared to be coming from within itself. From where Kate was, the whole city looked like a massive train set on a table, except that the people in the trains were moving on their own. Kate started to feel dizzy and see bright spots in front of her eyes. She realized that, in her excitement, she had forgotten to breathe. She gulped in a huge breath and let it out slowly. Wow. The air had a slight metallic taste to it. More curious than scared now, she wanted a closer look. She knew she couldn't get home by herself and would need some help. Maybe someone down there would know how I can get back, she thought. But how do I get down there? Her eyes cast around, looking for something or some way to reach the bottom. Maybe one of those, she said out loud, shrinking back at the sound of her own voice echoing off the inside of the tunnel. Kate was looking at the poles. Each one had a round steel plate at its base on the ground. Kate watched in fascination as someone stepped onto one of the platforms, and it triggered a metal sleeve to rise up between their feet like an expanding telescope, right up to head height. The person grabbed the metal sleeve with one hand, and then the platform started to move up the pole. When the person reached the tunnel entrance, they let go of the metal sleeve, the platform stopped, and the person, was it a person, stepped off into the tunnel. Cool, thought Kate. She was excited to give it a try. She looked around for the pole by her tunnel, but there wasn't one. The closest one was about 30 feet over and 20 feet down. Her heart sank. Looking around for another way, Kate noticed that there were cables or clear hoses running along the walls between the tunnels, forming a crisscross grid like a kind of giant netting. The cables glowed brightly, and the whole grid system provided enough light for the entire city. There wasn't a pole by her tunnel entrance, but there was a cable. Maybe I can slide across the cable and down to the other tunnel with the pole, just like in the movies. Can't be that hard, she thought. But how? She murmured. Then she smiled. She had just the thing. Her house key was clipped to her belt loop with a mountain climbing carabiner. Reaching up on her tiptoes and gripping the side of the tunnel with one hand, Kate leaned out as far as she dared and clipped the carabiner around the cable that led towards the tunnel she was aiming for. Then she threaded her nylon web belt through the steel clip and wrapped each end of the belt around her wrists. That should do it, Kate said through clenched teeth. She made the mistake of glancing down and her stomach did a flip. She was scared, but she knew turning back would get her, literally, nowhere. The only way out was down and over, and she needed to get there without drawing any attention to herself, at least until she could figure out who those people were and whether they were friendly or not. She took a few deep breaths and shook her head, trying to summon more courage. Okay, here we go. Her tongue sticking out in concentration, Kate stepped off the ledge. She slid smoothly for about the first 15 feet, but then the cable started to sag under her weight. It was meant to illuminate, not carry people. Kate started to panic. Would it break? The more the cable sagged, the slower Kate moved until she came to a complete halt just 3 feet from her targeted tunnel entrance. No, 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 no. Kate's arms were tired. It was a good thing she had wrapped the ends of the belt around her wrists, or she would have fallen by now, her hands too weak and sweaty to hold on any longer. She started to swing her feet towards the opening. With each back and forth, the carabiner slid forward a few inches, then back one. It was slow going, but she was getting there. One more swing. She managed to skim the edge of the tunnel with her toe, but her foot slipped off. She didn't know if she had enough force to try again, but with one final effort, she got her foot into the tunnel. She paused for a few seconds to give her arms a rest. As she felt herself relax, she let her gaze drop. Seeing nothing but empty space between her and the hard ground below, she panicked. Her foot slipped off the edge, pushing her backwards to where she was dangling once more. No, she cried, furious with herself. No, don't look down. There's the cable. Get your foot back on, grab the cable, pull yourself in. Kate heard a noise and dared to look down. Someone was getting on the platform below. Afraid that she might have been spotted, Kate swung herself forward again towards the tunnel entrance with a new burst of adrenaline. She managed to hook one of her feet onto the ledge of the tunnel. She held fast for a minute, her heavy breathing sounding like a freight train as it echoed off the smooth, cool wall surrounding the city. She had to let go of the belt now, at least with one hand, so she could pull herself into the tunnel with the other. Kate managed to transfer both ends of the belt into one hand, but her hand was sweaty, and the belt started to slide slowly through her fingers. She frantically felt around with her free hand for something to grab onto inside the tunnel, her fingers dancing all around the inside edge, searching, and her toes digging hard to keep her in place. The belt slipped through her fingers and her arms dropped, no longer able to stay up, just as she got a solid grip on a cable inside. Oof. Kate let out another large breath and tried to steady herself. She stayed there motionless for a moment, one arm and leg in the tunnel, the other arm and leg dangled outside. She'd made it. Unbelievable, she thought, and then remembered the person coming up the pole. Her senses were on high alert. There was no time to celebrate. Crouching low, Kate pressed herself into the shadow cast by a utility box on the tunnel wall and waited, willing every part of her body to get smaller in the darkness around her. She could hear a soft friction sound, like someone rubbing the palms of their hands together very quickly. It got louder and faster as the platform approached. Stepping off the platform, the person hesitated for a second, as if they heard a sound they weren't expecting. Apparently satisfied that all was as it should be, they headed down the dark corridor of the tunnel. As they walked, lights came on to light their path, turning off behind them once they passed. Kate's eyes went wide. Under their light, their skin seemed blue. What the? Once the person was just a speck in the distance, Kate uncoiled herself from her hiding spot and inched her way towards the edge of the tunnel. The platform had already returned to the bottom of the pole, and she couldn't see any mechanism to summon it back up. Kate peered farther over the edge, grabbing the pole to steady herself. Instantly, the pole felt warm, and a blue band appeared beneath Kate's hand. It pulsed once, and then Kate could see the platform ascend towards her. It only took a few seconds for the thin metal platform to zip up and stop level with her feet. She wasn't sure what to do next. The blue band beneath her hand began to pulse faster, getting darker with each pulse. Like a countdown, Kate thought. Sensing that if she didn't move, she'd miss her ride, Kate jumped on. She grabbed onto the center sleeve as she had seen the other person do, and the platform started its descent. Kate watched wide-eyed as the city below rose up before her. She wondered when, or even how, she would ever get back home. Well, I hope you enjoyed that chapter. There are plenty more to go, so make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss what's coming up next. There's a lot more to come. And if you are enjoying it, by all means, feel free to share this with your family and friends so that you can watch and listen together. I'm Erik Gingles, the author of The Nomies and the Surface Protocol. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.